From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's WarChant.com's Azan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! Hopefully you are up. It's Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan. Corey's here as well. This is being recorded as the sun is up on Wednesday afternoon, so it's maybe the freshest podcast we've done, just like the great food over at Zaxby's. What are you getting this weekend, Corey, as you celebrate our nation's birth? I'm going to go with the Southern TLC sandwich. I just want some fried chicken on a bun, brother. That's what I'm going for.
I go to Old Reliables. I'm sure I'll probably get a Big Zax snack. I can't not. You know what I really like about Zaxby's? A lot of it. Obviously, they sponsor us, and that's a big plus. But their bread, like their toast, what is that, Texas toast?
Yes, correct.
That stuff is the truth.
It's very good.
I love that. When I get my salad, I'm trying to eat healthy, but then I pop in, I'll order extra Texas toast with my salad, which is what most healthy people do. And I like the mushroom bites. I always go with mushroom bites, my man.
I still haven't had those. I'll have to try them out. I'm glad you went ahead and did that for the family and let us know how it is.
Oh, I did that years ago.
Oh, okay.
Years ago, they became part of my routine.
Very well, very well. Wake Up War Chant, obviously part of the WarChant.com family. If you're not a member, use the promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. Students at Florida State University, email support@warchant.com from your FSU student email address for a special promo code that will give you 12 months of access. Again, a whole year for just $12. Fantastic promo that we continue to run. All right, Corey, so the folks that are on warchant.com, if we haven't talked to them in a few days, they weren't able to, if they weren't on the website, they missed out on the EJ Manuel story that you wrote about, which will have the interview later on in this program. And then a couple articles from Gene and Ira about the economic state of the football season ticket union, I guess you could say. A lot of people not happy about those stories. They don't like this sort of glum outlook on things. Those stories kind of caught. I didn't realize that Florida State is. I realize the season ticket sales are lagging, and Gene and Ira postulate reasons why that is. But when you discover the fact that they're shy of selling 25,000 season tickets, we kind of talked about this off the air in our group text message. That's not a large number. I mean, it's a decent size number, 25,000. But when you think about how many Florida State fans there are, and we know that the geographical differences, but I wonder how many other schools are. Is Columbia, South Carolina, bustling that people aren't going to Gamecock football games anymore? I do need to take a look at these other things because that does seem like a very a stark number. But I would assume other schools are in the same boat.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the sport overall is on a decline, like a 3 or 4% decline. I think from 17 to 18. It's where we're heading. They made these stadiums way too big, and they got used to people spending that kind of money just for the opportunity to buy tickets. All these programs did, and Florida State, quite frankly, is a perfect storm in 2019. You've got everything that being in 2019 represents, like i.e. staying at home and watching in air conditioning on your 80-inch TV. It is the same obstacles that they've always had. Tallahassee's hard to get to. The hotel prices are absolutely ridiculous. I can't understand how families spend $400 a night for a 2-night minimum at some of these. So I can't wrap my mind around it. But that's still there. Tallahassee's obviously hard to get to. The home schedule is atrocious. And most importantly, the football team looked like it did last year and looked like it did in 2017. I think, we look at what it did in 2014. I think in Ira's story, they sold, because this was before the Champions Club, they had 45,000 lower bowl seats, and they sold them all in 2014. All of them, 45,000. So they've gone from, in 2014, having 45,000 season tickets to right now probably being on pace to have about 25,000. Now, that's not all Willie Taggart. Everyone knows that. The trend had started it was dropping precipitously well before Taggart took over. In fact, everybody was really excited, I think.
Yeah.
The majority of the fan base was pretty excited about Taggart last year.
Absolutely.
But then when you look at those numbers, they were still down from 17 and down from 16. So they were still on the way down. Now, this has been a bigger drop than normal. But it's to be expected, right? I mean, it would be weird if they had a huge tick up in season ticket sales because the product on the field, I think, again, and I think Ira and Gene especially kind of really brought that up. Like, look, the product on the field, the excitement about the program, it's just not there right now. I think overall, overarching, like obviously there are diehards that are very excited and will always be very excited, but some, they need a reason to spend their money. Yeah. And when you look like you looked last year, and you looked like you looked in 2017, and you have the home schedule you have, and I have to spend X amount of money just to get to Tallahassee, and the hotels charge me, so I have to stay there 2 nights. It's all reasons. There are all these reasons not to go. Yeah. And the reasons they will have to go is either tickets drop a lot, which obviously doesn't seem even realistic, or the football team gets a lot better.
Yeah,
those are really the 2 avenues, right?
It's yeah, I would think so. And I know there's a lot of discussion going on over on the Tribal Council of WarChant.com, and there's several people that have talked about the fact that as season ticket holders, they stopped renewing because they could get tickets for cheaper on the secondary market. You know, there would be tickets that the school allegedly would not be able to sell, and then the university would dump those tickets onto the secondary market like StubHub, and then you could just kind of go in there and snatch the tickets up. You know, to that sort of point, I remember I came up for the game in 2016 when they played Clemson on the whole crazy block in the back. Jimbo goes apoplectic on that call. Yeah. And, you know, my whole time I came up, I had a $50 bill in my wallet, and I was like, I'm going to buy a ticket for $50. You know, it's just Florida State's out of the national title hunt. They're not a playoff contender, really. Clemson's the defending national champion. Or actually, no, that was the year they won the national championship. But they're coming off playing in the national championship game. Like, it's still $50 and I'll be fine. And I had the person I bought the ticket off of that was scalping out front was an actual booster, and he had the physical paper ticket. And on the paper ticket, I could have sworn it said like $125. And he's like, "Hey man, can you give me 80?" And I'm like, "I give you 50." He's like, 75? I'm like, "Dude, I got a $50 bill. Take it or leave it." He's like, "Yeah." And he was so like upset with me. And I get it. He spent $125 on that ticket and only got 50 of it back. But I couldn't believe that a regular season ticket, just normal, I was in the corner, like the 15-yard line, 60 rows up, was going for $125. But I'm just one guy. I'm a single man. It didn't, I wasn't bringing a whole family, but I can imagine having season tickets in a so-so section of the stadium, having to spend that amount of money. But Florida State, though, price-wise, I think is still competitive, if not maybe one of the more affordable sort of options you have there. But to your point about pricing and the amount of money that people have to pay to come to games, and you say that you don't ever want to complain about it, and you don't. You're like, listen, I'm not going to tell people how to spend their money when I get to go to games for free, and I'm in there with you. I'm an alumnus.
Well, actually, we get paid to go to games, essentially. Yeah. So sports writers complaining about other people not showing up that have to use their money has always been a huge pet peeve with me.
Right. And me as an alumnus, I'm not a booster. I don't donate to the General Scholarship Fund, and these aren't things I'm bragging about. I'm just telling you the truth and the reality of it, and I have friends who are making twice as much money as I do that do the same thing. There is a certain, and a lot of people have voiced that on the Tribal Council about, I get it, the team's not good, this is not good, the schedule's not good, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but I love my university, and I know I have to help them out. And like when I see those sentiments, I feel even doubly more bad about who I am and what my friends don't do for the school. But I just don't know, like, how much of that can you really expect as a school? Like, how many people can you really expect to step up because they love the university despite the fact that the program doesn't look really that sharp right now, and all the other things that we talked about. But that's kind of isn't that what, I don't know, like, do you think that's what they set their sights on? They just hope that they've built enough loyalty and there's enough of a pull and a love between people in their alma mater that they'll continue to spend this money despite all the other variables being in play?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what all these, football schools kind of count on is, they're all, Florida State, I mean, I know they had the lost decade there, but they've really been pretty darn good for the last 40 years. Now, they've hit a rough patch here. We can all agree on that. But by and large, they have built up some goodwill over the last 40 years, and I think administrators and the Seminole boosters and the athletic department would all hope that, okay, to get back to where we need to go, we need help. And, Coburn said that in Ira's article, is we hope that we need you now more than ever. And again, it's $330. Most season ticket packages are $330. I get it. That's not, again, it's easy for me to say, yeah, buy those tickets. What are you guys waiting on? And hey, if you don't live in Tallahassee, you can stay in Thomasville or buy an RV, whatever you got to do to avoid the hotels. But there's a reality to the situation, and the biggest reality, and it's not fireworks. It's not, I think the marching chiefs should play the whole time instead of what they do now. But that really doesn't matter all that much either. There probably aren't a ton of people that don't show up anymore because the marching chiefs don't play enough. Right. I think they should, but I'm 44. I think that it has been a bit of a misstep to kind of cater a lot of the pregame stuff and even the in-game stuff to younger fans, students who, aren't, I guess they are technically spending a lot of money at your school, but not for those tickets. And in the ads, I get all that too. They're really loud. They're really they're just intrusive. You can't get away. They're so loud on the video board, but they're trying to make money that way too. There's all these ways they're trying to make money. At the end of the day, I hate to say it, but no matter what the in-game experience is like at the stadium, and it's not great, I don't think. If you go 5-7, it's not going to matter much. Yeah, it's just not. I don't know that the in-game experience in 2014 was great, except you got to watch Jameis Winston play, and that was the allure of everybody buying tickets in 2014. Fireworks and video ads and the marching chiefs playing or club music playing, whatever they do, I really don't think it matters. It's the product on the field, and right now it's essentially at an all-time low for our lifetimes. And I'm talking about 18 and 17. It is. Florida State's never had a 12 and 13 stretch since I've been alive. Really, since I was a year old was the last time they had a stretch like this. So it's something that nobody around here is used to. And so, yeah, of course, season tickets are gonna dwindle. Would you like Florida State fans to be like, you know what, we're with you thick and thin. We're gonna still be 45,000 or 40,000 strong, and we got the Champions Club now. We're gonna be there through thick and thin for you, like Green Bay Packers fans. Yeah, I guess, but that's not really how this university has ever really been set up. And again, so many season ticket holders don't live in the city. It's hard to get to, and it's a lot of money to ask people to spend. So they're going to want to spend it on a team that they think is going to win.
Like, is the blessing or the fortunate history of this university with Bowden being able to do everything on the cheap also just ultimately kind of a curse? Because I just think about people of my age group, like my peer group, grew up, Florida State was absolutely dominating, and this was obviously before the whole arms race starts happening. And then I don't know if it's because our parents didn't go to Florida State by and large. Me and my friends were not legacies. None of us, I don't think, none of my friends had parents that went to Florida State. Some maybe had an older sibling. But there wasn't that sort of tradition and the hand-me-down, pass-me-down thing of, all right, these are my tickets now. They're going to be your tickets, and you have to keep contributing. It's like Florida State was killing it, and none of us donated any sort of money. And then we'd feel like, well, I mean, what difference – like we don't feel the sort of responsibility to pick up the flag and help move the ball down the field. Because you saw a head coach that wasn't he was never the highest paid coach, or maybe for one season Bobby Bowden was the highest paid coach. Otherwise, the school did everything quite frugally and still flourished. But I guess it's obviously a different day and age now with, channels devoted to the game and multi-billion-dollar things. But anywho, is this going to be the last show? Go ahead.
I was going to say it's also a young school compared to when you talk about football blue bloods in the South, I think Georgia was created in the 1200s. I don't know. It seems like all these SEC schools have been around since Jesus was walking around. I mean, they've been around forever. Florida State became a co-ed school in the 1940s. Their first football game was in the late 1940s. They aren't. You're right. They aren't up to that. They aren't a legacy school like so many of the other people they battle against. So, you hope that changes eventually. I mean, people are having. You would think that it would start to become a generational school, but it doesn't really feel like that yet. But again, I don't know how much to. It's not a Florida State specific problem. Obviously, look at Miami's season ticket sales. Florida's not doing well either. Nobody's really doing well. Alabama, of course, they sell out, but there aren't a ton of schools around the country that their season ticket sales are rising. That's just not a reality anymore. So all these schools are kind of scrambling. It's just the problem for Florida State again is the schedule is woeful, and I also think something that that a place like Auburn or a place like LSU, they play other big-time football schools. And this isn't – I don't want to sit here and hammer the ACC. Heaven knows I rip the SEC all the time for the love it gets. But Florida State fans live around other football fans, other SEC fans mostly. And a Florida fan can get excited even when, like, an Ole Miss comes to school, or an Ole Miss comes to town, or an Auburn comes to town. Well, Florida State fans aren't getting all excited because Louisville and NC State are rolling in. Even if they're good, they just don't care. I mean, they cared 1 year because of Lamar Jackson. That was it. They just – you don't get those automatic, okay, we're going to those two games each year. They just don't get that. They don't get the Georgia even with, like Tennessee or Kentucky. Kentucky's probably not a great example, but – they don't get those automatic games on their schedule every year where where number one, the other school is going to bring fans because no school in the ACC, other than the one that wears orange, ever brings fans into Tallahassee, and that the Florida State fans aren't going to be excited about. So that hurts too, that the Florida State fans still don't care that much about other ACC schools other than Clemson. It's just all a perfect storm. But again, that was the case in 2014 too, and they sold out. Yeah. If you're really good, if Willie Taggart builds a really good product, they'll sell a lot of tickets again. Yeah. If he doesn't, they won't. I think that's just the reality.
Great way to button up a long topic. Corey, this is the last show that you'll be on the phone. You'll be back on your computer next time.
Do I sound? I apologize again to our dear listeners.
Yeah, you sound fine.
I really do. Okay, all right. I like it better when I'm on the mic. Because after I'm done, I literally drop it. I throw it on the ground. I can't do that with my phone because my phone is my world. But yeah, so I'm going to have my computer back, which means I can be on the mic, or I'm actually going to be in town next week. I don't know if you're going to be in town next week, but we can do some Midtown studio shows too.
Okay, very well, very well.
And then we got our trip to Charlotte after that.
Oh, can't wait. That's part of the reason why I'm still in Tallahassee. I just spent too much time in the car the last week. My body feels weird from sitting in the car for so long. Like all this sort of stuff that I suffered from my car accident last year feels like it's coming back. So I'm like, I don't even feel like driving 4 hours back to Tampa because I'm going to have to get back in the car and drive 8 hours to Charlotte in a week and a half's time. But anyhow.
Fair. I got you, buddy. I got you.
Speaking of Charlotte, Tamorrion Terry, Marvin Wilson will be joining Willie Taggart at ACC Kickoff, which begins July 17th. Corey, myself, and Ira will all be there representing warchant.com. The Atlantic Division goes on the 17th. The 18th will be the Coastal. Although I kind of want to stay up there and see how old Mac Brown handles business up there, but we'll probably be gone by then. But that'll be pretty interesting. I was surprised to see Tamorrion Terry selected, not because I thought James Blackman would go. I didn't think any of the quarterbacks would go. You can't give that sort of designation when you're in the midst of a quote-unquote quarterback battle. But I guess this will be a good opportunity for him to get his interviewing skills sort of honed up. Love the kid, good kid, but he's not maybe the most loquacious, talkative sort of guy when it comes to interviewing. He'll answer your questions, which is all you can ask for. But interested and curious that Willie's going to kind of put him in that sort of spotlight. But time to grow up. You're about to become a first-round pick here in, 10 months' time. So we got to get ready. We got to get polished. We can do our audition. We can pitch him on perhaps being his representation when he decides to put his paperwork to go to the league, maybe work some sort of entourage thing. Like, I don't want to say that you're the turtle because you're too smart, you bring too much to the table, but you do drive a lot. So maybe you can be like an E and turtle hybrid in the entourage, and I'll just kind of be Johnny Drama and just, stir things up, keep everybody loose.
Oh, okay. I was the analogy. I was losing it for a second. I'm like, wait, a turtle because I'm slow and I'm bald?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
Never.
But you meant turtle as in the character on Entourage.
Yeah.
By the way, great show the first couple of seasons.
No, they're all great.
After that, they got a little too. I didn't like. I think I've told you. Maybe I even said on the show. I don't remember. But like, my biggest complaint was, it was really cool when it was the one superstar friend and all these other three kind of just lackeys that still got to like sponge off them. They got to be like little fish swimming around the big shark. Like, they still got all the trappings that a celebrity would get, although they had no talent at all and they didn't earn anything. And then all of a sudden, they all start becoming successful on their own. It's like, I don't need Turtle to own a tequila company.
Right.
I don't need E to be a real manager for other actors and actresses. That ruins the show for me. I don't want them to be successful. I want them to owe their lives to one person because I think that's more legitimate.
Yeah.
But I guess it was based on what's his name? Mark Wahlberg. So maybe his friends are all big time Hollywood people now. But yeah, so I think what we could do with Tamarian is Tamarian actually.
Sorry,
is it might be Tamarian. Gosh darn it, I think it's Tamarian. Yeah, it is. It's Tamarian. I actually looked up the pronunciation, and Derek actually told me jokingly. He's like, I know you vote in the Bolitnikov, so I want you to know how to pronounce his name because he's probably heard me pronounce it incorrectly 1,000 times. But I like the move of taking him up there, honestly, because I think when you have the year he had, and it was a very good year. I think he was their best player on offense, but he had 35 catches. It wasn't like he had 100.
He only caught 3. How is that possible? How did he only get 3
Something
catches
like that, right? He
yes.
caught like 37
35.
passes?
No, 35. It wasn't even a full 3. It wasn't the whole number 3 average catches a game.
Yeah.
12 games,
so he's not
catches.
He's not well known across the nation. Boston College fans, if there are a few out there, know who he is. And some others know, the NC State fans know who he is. Or they might say, man, 15's awesome. But other than that, his name isn't really well known. So I really do like what Willie did here because he could have gone the easy route and just taken Cam Akers again.
Right.
Or like you said, a quarterback would have been interesting. But, yeah, he could have taken a quarterback, but I understand why he didn't because there's a quarterback competition coming up. But I like that he brought him. And I think that it's going to be good for him. It's going to be good for people to be like, I think there will be legitimately, because I know the media in this conference, 50% of the people there, maybe more, won't know who he is. Yeah. Won't know anything he did last year. And they're going to be like, oh, Florida State brought a wide receiver. Is he good? Let me look up his stats. Oh, wow, he averaged 21 yards a catch. So I think it's good just to get his name out there. Unlike Clemson, who's bringing an offensive guard instead of Trevor Lawrence. That's odd. But I like that Willie, number one, he earned it. He was their best player on offense last year. He earned the right to go up there. It will be good for him because he is going to be talking to a lot of media for the next 10 or 12 years of his life, and he's going to have to meet with GMs and scouts very soon. So I think that's good for him. I also think bringing Marvin was a no-brainer. That guy will be great in that setting.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So really, they're not going to have Trevor Lawrence out there, and he ducked the media at the Manning Academy. Weird. Is
it because of what's that about? Like he doesn't seem like a guy that doesn't like the media. He's never really had anything negative written about him other than when he kind of attacked that kid in the intramural basketball game, but that was kind of funny. I don't know why they'd be so against him meeting with the media. He's a Heisman candidate, for crying out loud. And maybe he told them he didn't want to do it. Yeah. Just like he told the people at the Manning camp he didn't want to do it.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, that's coming up later on in July. It's a Renegade Express edition of the program as we approach our nation's birthday. Independence Day, I'm told by many people not to call it the 4th, but to call it Independence Day. I'm still going to call it the 4th because it's America and I can do what I want.
Yeah, it is the 4th.
Exactly. All right, so let's get to, was there something else I wanted to bring up? Oh, yeah, one other sort of newsy thing. The Elite 11 camp is wrapping up out there in Nike country. Jeff Sims, the quarterback for Florida State, is out there. And after 4 days, he is ranked number 7 out of the 11 quarterbacks that are, I guess, finalists. There's more than 11 quarterbacks. They invite more than 11 to the Elite 11 camp these days, but I guess they have, at some point, they just choose finalists, and there's 11 of them. He currently sits 7th out there. I went back and looked at this, the history of the Elite 11. It's actually pretty decent. It's pretty solid. Although I would say starting from about 2015 into the present, it hasn't hit nearly. It's been about 5. It's had an average of 5 very good college quarterbacks per season. But it feels
that
like
feels about right, doesn't it?
Which is good. It's all you can really ask for. And I don't know if it's because so many guys are just kind of hopping around now. These guys just transfer. That's why. Because it feels like, let me look up one of these classes. Let's go to 2016, for example. And I would say a very good college quarterback. Let's just say one guy that started at least a season and won 10 games. Like in 2014, DeAndre Francois was out there. Like the 2016, you've got Jake Fromm, Sam Ehlinger, and you got Tua. So those are 3 really good quarterbacks. Then you have the kid Tate Martell, who's transferred to Miami. Dylan McCaffrey's at Michigan. We'll see how that goes. And then a bunch of guys. Hunter Johnson was at Clemson. He transferred away. Miles Brennan went to LSU. I think he's been passed up now on the depth chart. Obviously, Joe Burrow starts over him. Syracuse's backup quarterback went there, but he was behind Eric Dungy. So that's how it worked. But so I think that's about all you can ask for at a camp like that, right? Like just 5 of these guys end up being really good. Hopefully Florida State got one of them with Jeff Sims. We'll see how it finishes it out. It's going to be on ESPNU tonight from 8 to midnight, so you can see the heir apparent for Florida State's offense. With that said,
really? It's going to be a 4-hour show?
Yeah, man. They have a 7-on-7 and a lineman. Like the linemen do a 5-on-something. The lineman final 5 is what it says.
So wait, this is dropping today? This show?
Yeah.
We're talking almost real time. We're doing this almost in real time.
Yeah. And actually,
okay.
They're out in Texas. I thought they were out in Nike country, like out in Portland. That's the opening I'm thinking of. Yeah. The Elite 11, it's out in Frisco, Texas. So.
Oh, I thought when Jameis went, it was out in California. I know Dilfer was the guy that ran it. I thought that was out in California.
Yeah, maybe they rotate it. But anywho, that's going on. You can check out that and all your recruiting updates over on warchant.com as well. With that said, let's go to the mailbag that is Renegade Express. Maxwell Gibbs starts us off per usual. What I asked folks on your recommendation, Corey, was, also let everybody know they obviously have to check in and let us know where they're from, their hometown, and the most famous person there, but also tell us how you discovered warchant.com. That was your sort of idea after somebody asked us that. So let's start off with Maxwell. He says, Happy Independence Week, boys. Talks about NBA free agency. Cool. Thanks, Maxwell. He tells us that he stumbled upon Warchant when he was 13 years old. I straight up just typed in warchant.com, and it brought me to the site, having no knowledge of what it was. But when I discovered it, I thought it was the coolest thing ever until I saw that you had to pay to read a lot of the articles. But he joined. Here he is, happy as can be. For this week's New York Minute.
Good work.
Yeah, he pretty much just wants to let us know. He just wants to talk about the NBA free agency. But it's Wake Up Warchant. It's not Wake Up Roundball. But he does tell us that this past week in New York City with his lovely bride, he saw Clemson and their football bus driving around the Upper West Side. It was parked at Central Park West. This is the same bus that they ride around the stadium, a.k.a. Corey's favorite tradition. By the way, speaking of Corey, last week he wanted to know about the rats. You'll see them quite often on the subway tracks and in the nastier areas of the city, such as Times Square, Chinatown, and downtown. Once you've seen one, though, you're never surprised when you see them going forward.
I don't know, man. I don't know that I could. I guess it's like anything. I just don't know that I could ever quite get used to that. Especially if I'm like walking to dinner, and I'm about to walk into a restaurant and I see one scurry right in front of me. I'm like, oh boy, where did that thing just come from? Where's it going? That's it. That would be the biggest reason I couldn't live in New York City. I'm sure I could get over it, especially if I lived in one of the high-rise condos that like Howard Stern or somebody lives in. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't know if I could do it, buddy.
Yeah. Bad optics. All right, Bimini Bound. Tells us he first found out about War Chant around 2003, 2004 because my roommate was obsessed with a website, and that website turned out to be warchant.com. At the time, the free articles were enough to get me by. I can't really remember why I joined on November 28th, 2010, but it probably had something to do with us snapping a 5-year losing streak to the Gators the day before. Have an amazing 4th of July, guys. Yeah, that works.
That's pretty funny that you can go back and look that up. Yeah, I imagine that had a lot to do with that. Like, oh, man, we're about to own the state.
Yeah.
Not only that, we're going to the ACC championship game, going to probably pulverize Virginia Tech. That's what everybody was thinking going into that week. But yeah, that was that game. Were you at that game?
No. I remember watching
game. That was because I'd been there 3 years. I've been covering Florida State for essentially 3 years, and it had been kind of a gloomy deal. Bowden was ousted out. You had the Marcus Sims fumble. You had the. I think even earlier that year, you had the crazy loss at NC State where they're about to go in and score, and then Ty Jones strip sacks Christian Ponder when they're at the 4-yard line. They lose that game. So you had just bad juju, man, just bad vibes all around. It was gloomy. And then that day, beating the tar out of the Gators, I'm sure Florida State fans were sort of confident they had a chance, but, man, it had been so long. And then also whoever had to lose, I think NC State, Russell Wilson had something to do with Florida State. I think Russell Wilson beat whoever he had to beat to get Florida State in, or maybe it was the other way around. They lost. So Florida State won the Atlantic, which is crazy, too, that it was either going to be like NC State or Florida State and not Clemson. They weren't even thought of then. But, yeah, just that day, man, that day was like, man, it felt like it had been a decade in the making. So I bet War Chant subscriptions went up pretty good that week after that. Everybody was so fired up about what was coming. And it came. We got to see it. We got to live it.
Yeah. They lost to Maryland. NC State lost at Maryland 38-31. They both finished in a tie for second in the Atlantic at 5-3. Florida State was 6-2. And then
and NC State would have had the tiebreaker because. Well, by the way, so Clemson was 4-4. Isn't that nuts? But or I think maybe 3-5. But NC State would have had the tiebreaker because of that crazy loss in Raleigh on a Thursday night when they were just about to win the game. It was a play action pass. The dude was wide open in the end zone. Ponder was getting ready to let it go, and Ty Jones hit him from behind.
Yeah, that's crazy. That year in Montana, I don't remember anything. Like 2010, 2011, I don't know why.
It's all cloudy, isn't it? That's what happens out in Montana, man.
It just all runs together. It's kind of crazy.
Just kind of I feel like you kind of just dive into yourself. Yeah. You just become a loner. Isn't that their motto? Come out here and live alone. Like, isn't that what you do in Montana? It's just kind of, you collapse into yourself and you get to really know you.
Yeah.
What did you find out about yourself in Montana?
Man, that I was not a good person. I need to get better. And I did. I think it was good.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked who I became in Montana. I think that put me on a good trajectory to be who I am. Although I think I've taken a step back here in the last year. Just having to deal with all the negative energy from the people that don't like me being negative about a 5-7 football team. But that's neither here nor there. Let's actually get to some questions. Captain D_63 says, Happy 4th, gentlemen. Wishing you all a great holiday weekend with family and friends. I will be spending it by myself, though, but I appreciate the sentiment. Last year we had some guys who were a cancer to the program. Things seem different from what we've read and heard. My first question, what if Alex Hornibrook won the starting job from the coaches? Do you feel the cancer would return if Blackman is not named the starter? I get this question. And we do have some conjecture and we speculate on things here, but I don't want to speculate too much on, I don't know who DeAndre really was at the locker room. I don't know who Nooney really was, or whoever you want to sort of pin, bad vibes, bad juju on. Will it return if Hornibrook wins the job? This team wants to win, right, Corey? This team got humiliated last year. And as long as whoever's behind center wins games, I think there obviously will be all on board with it. But to the point, if it's going to be Hornibrook, he has to just absolutely wow them. I think it would be really weird if he wins on points and then they're 4-2 going into their first bye, or I don't even know what week the bye week is. But if they've already lost 2 games and it's not Blackman under center, and it felt like it was sort of, I think you don't lose a locker room, but I just think whatever sort of good energy and optimism that you built, like you take 2 losses to the chops, then I don't know how much of these bad habits, the bad culture, I don't know how much that would return. But I don't necessarily think that's kids being, quote, cancers, which I don't like using that word.
Yeah, I don't think a cancer would return. And also, I think James Blackman's just a different kind of kid. So if he lost the job to Hornibrook, I don't think he would become an issue or a distraction. But more importantly, I think here's what would happen. If Hornibrook, like you just said, if Hornibrook wins the job, he will have to really outplay. It won't be 51-49. He will have to really outplay James Blackman. And guess what? Players can see things too. Like if Hornibrook is outplaying James Blackman by that much, none of them will have an issue when the coaches choose him, because how could they? If Hornibrook goes out and wins the job, and we think he has to go win it, like knockout punch style win it, they're all going to see it too. And they're going to be like, yeah, that was the only decision he could make. I'm sorry, James, man, we're still teammates, but he earned the spot. And I would think all players would feel like that because they're trying to win spots. So they wouldn't be rooting for a kid that got outplayed to be the starter, and they want to win games. And if Hornibrook is out there lighting it up every practice, and Blackman is just okay or struggling a little bit, of course they're going to be. I think, maybe I'm being naive, but I think almost every player would be like, yeah, that's fair. It's a meritocracy, man. This is how sports is supposed to work. He earned the job. He's better. I don't see that happening, but it could. Yeah. And if it does, yeah, I wouldn't think it would become a real issue, because I think, like we're saying, I think it would have to be Hornibrook would completely outplay Blackman, and it would be a no doubt kind of decision. I don't think if there's any doubt at all, if it's 51-49, I don't think they just choose Hornibrook. So I think it's something where it has to be a really, really obvious. And if that's the deal, then I don't know how anybody could have a problem with it.
Yeah, I think your leaders on that side of the ball as well, like Cam and Tamarion, they're going into money years. They need to perform. They need to get their stats. They need to see this team win and help them. If this team wins, it's better for them as well. So I definitely think they'd be on board with, quote, the best man winning the job. But, the best man winning job needs to be either Blackman or a far and away better Alex Hornibrook than James Blackman. Maybe we can ask Terry that when we're up in Charlotte. I've got 2 weeks to figure out a way to ask him that, about if he'll be mad if Blackman doesn't win the job, but without phrasing it like that. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, please don't phrase it like that.
Second
and
question.
We'll also talk about the representation. I don't know that we can legally represent them because neither one of us are lawyers or agents.
Right.
But we can. I feel like the best way is kind of sneak in as a friend. I don't know, like a consultant, a family friend. I don't know.
We can be his manager. We don't have to be his agent. We can be his manager. We don't need any sort of law or NFLPA certification to become his manager. So we can do that.
Okay, fair enough.
You have experience with the NBA draft. We both have multimedia experience in different markets, different mediums. We could definitely help the brand for sure. Second question from Captain D. Has Meat put his coaching staff together yet? If so, your thoughts on the hires? Well, he hired the hitting coach last week, right, Corey? Mike Metcalf?
He did, yeah. Well, Metcalf. When I talked to Meat about these hires, and there's a report as we talked today that he's hired as pitching coach too. You'll tell him about him in a second. He did talk about how he doesn't just want, like, a pitching coach and a hitting coach. He wants guys that can do it all. So, like, if one of them's on the road recruiting, the pitchers aren't just, well, what do we do today? Let's just, do soft toss. Like, I think he wants guys that have a background or maybe can do a few different things, especially with someone like Metcalf, who was a scout. Like, I don't think he's just straight up a hitting coach, because, of course, that's like Jimbo hiring a quarterback's coach. Right. Like, we know the deal there. He's kind of everything. Like, he can scout. He's really good at scouting. You would hope. And so he can go identify 15 and 16-year-olds and say, that's a guy we need to watch. That's a guy that we need to offer, and then help develop them what they need to work on once they get to campus. And that's in everything. That's not just hitting, keeping your head down, step towards the pitcher, any of that. Like, it's all of it. It's fielding, it's pitching, it's throwing, running. All that stuff is the stuff I think he envisions Metcalf helping with.
Kendall Rogers, as well as Derek Terry, who works for as a Kentucky beat writer, announced that and reported that Meat and Florida State have hired their pitching coach, Jimmy Bellinger. Although I want to say Belanger, but I'm sure it's probably Bellinger. He's
How's it spelled?
B-E-L Anger. A-N-G-E-R.
It might be Belanger.
Belanger?
Actually.
Belanger.
There was a Mark Belanger who was how do I know that name? I think he was like a major league player in the 80s or 90s. Mark Belanger.
Okay.
I think that's how it was pronounced. It might be Bellinger, though. You could be right. Maybe I mispronounced it my whole life.
He's coming to Florida State via Kentucky, where he was their pitching coach. Some of the blurbs about when he got hired at Kentucky, a scout for the Tampa Bay Rays, Lou Wieben, says that Jimmy's an outstanding person. He's a tireless worker. He's at every tournament and knows every player. So there's a couple good endorsements on his Kentucky bio, but it does sound like Meat has rounded up his staff, and Metcalf, to Corey's point, will help out as a hitting coach to as much of that as he can, but will also be leaned on heavily for his expertise and knowledge in terms of recruiting. And then Bellinger is the pitching coach, plucked him away from an SEC school. And I know Kentucky's not LSU, but Kentucky with Nick Mingione is a program that's been on the rise for the last few years.
Program.
Yeah, they're really good. In 18, this past season, they kind of took a step back, but they were really solid.
Hey, are you on his bio?
On the Kentucky website, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where was he before Kentucky?
Maryland.
How long was he at Kentucky? Give us the information, Aslan. We're not here just to dilly-dally. We're not here to lollygag.
It doesn't.
Give us some information on the guy.
It doesn't break it down nice and neatly the way it usually does. It looks like he started at Monmouth, and then he went to Maryland in 2013. It was his first season at Maryland. But yeah, so then he was at Maryland until 16, I think. Sorry, you're making me do these things where I got to read and talk at the same time. But it does look like 16 was the first year. Bellinger took a staff that lost all 30 conference starts from 2016 and reconstructed into one of the league's best. So,
okay,
there you go. Yeah, I mean, well, obviously he's in the SEC. He coached the first-round pick, a guy named Pat Light. And also there was a guy from Maryland a few years ago that was really good. Went 13-2 with a 1.71 ERA. Schwerin?
I remember that dude.
Yeah, Mike Schwerin.
He shoved against Florida State like on a Saturday in Tallahassee a few years ago when they were still in the conference.
Yeah. So he's got good pedigree. So it looks like Meat's figured it all out. They'll be all right. Can't wait for the season. There's so many people upset about the hire. I just can't wait to watch this team win 40 wins again and be like, hey, yeah.
40 wins, they're going to be hoisting that trophy in Omaha. But if that is, Florida State hasn't released that officially yet. But when they do, I mean, Meat wasn't lying. He wanted to get it done quick.
Yep. And
when was that announced? When did he have that press conference? On Monday? So like less than 10 days later, right?
Correct.
Or right at 10 days later, he's apparently got his staff filled out, and most importantly, they're on the road. Mm-hmm. They are at these showcases trying to find the next batch of Seminoles. That was quick.
Kendall Rogers also calls it a really nice get for the Noles. Jimmy is a good one. So there you go. Everybody approves.
Well, there you go. That's all we need. Now, though, Kendall, if you follow Kendall's Twitter feed, he doesn't criticize a lot of moves that are made.
And last question from Captain D_63. How much, if any, do the former players contribute back to the university? If they contributed $1 million each, wouldn't that offset some of the financial woes our program is going through? Thanks, guys, for bringing us great shows throughout the week. Go Noles.
That's true. And, in fact, I think the 2013 team by itself, everybody that was on that team, once Jameis signs his next contract and once Jalen signs their next contract, it's going to be well over $500 million that crew will have gotten in guaranteed money. Literally, whatever it wasn't 29, it was like 20, will have made somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 or $550 million combined. So if they all just gave 10% of that, that's $55 million. We're dancing. But no, the reality is I don't think that happens a ton at any college. I know, actually thinking of speaking of Mike Martin Jr., he talked about hitting Buster for a loan, a former player that's made a lot of money, and I know Buster has given back. But in football, I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't think it's a ton, and quite frankly, I don't know that we need to expect players to do that. I feel like they made Florida State, especially that crew, made Florida State a ton of money. A ton of money. We just talked about they had that 2014 season had 45,000 season tickets sold because of what those guys did on the field. So that how much money is that compared to this? You know, if you just do the math, that's 22,000 extra season tickets at $330 a pop. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that they made for the university just in that. Not even in regards to stuff being sold, the shirts and all that. So it's TV revenue. So, yeah, I don't know that they owe Florida State any money. I feel like they made a lot of money for the school already. Yeah. Now, if they can, I'm not telling them not to, and I'm sure some of them will. But I think if I was in their shoes, I think my override, like if I was Jalen Ramsey, I'd be like, man, I made y'all a ton of money. What, y'all need money now that y'all aren't any good? But, I mean, I made y'all a lot of money. That's kind of y'all's fault that y'all didn't do anything with it.
No. That would be
But that's just me. I'm not saying that that's how everybody feels. I just – again, they essentially, I know it's an education, I get it. They essentially play for not much in return, and they make their coaches a whole lot of money, and they make their administrators a whole lot of money, and they make all the other sports a lot of money.
$6.6 million would be the haul of 22,000 season tickets at $300 a pop.
So, yeah, and it was $330. So you're talking about probably like $7 million, a $7 million difference between the season tickets this year.
Yeah. In
that year, that's a lot.
You're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome, guys.
So I feel like that they did, and yeah, I think Jalen Ramsey and obviously Jameis, Kelvin Benjamin, all those guys, they did a lot for the university already. So my question is, why can't Jimbo give some money back?
Very good. Yeah.
Why can't Jimbo? He made $75 million guaranteed because of what he did at Florida State and what Florida State did for him. Why can't he just give 5% of that back? Well, that's $3.5 million. That's a nice bonus. Willie Taggart gave $1 million.
This is true.
So throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there.
All right, moving along. Next question. NYC Noel. Wake up, boys. Wake up. Happy 4th. Complimentary of my interview with Alex Hornibrook, says that I asked the right questions that the fans were thinking of. His question is for myself and you, Corey. Obviously, we're the hosts.
I feel like this is the right show to do that then.
At the barbecue, are you going hot dog or hamburger? Hamburger.
And it's that's a really funny because I literally just had this conversation yesterday because we're having a barbecue at my sister's. It's actually for my birthday, combination my birthday, Brady's birthday, and I was like, my mom was going to get hamburgers and hot dogs. She's like, how many do you think we should get? And I go, I don't know, I'll probably just eat hot dogs. She goes, oh really? And I'm like, yeah, I love grilled hot dogs. Like I can't eat a hot dog. I don't think anymore that just comes out of a boiling water. Just can't do it. I don't like a microwave, but on the grill,
yeah.
Boy.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I go with. I'm a grilled hot dog guy. I can eat 2 or 3 of them and feel perfectly fine. Plus, I try to stay away from red meat a little. My doctors have told me to try to curb the red meat intake. So I go with the good stuff, the hot dogs.
How many steaks did you have in Omaha?
Just 2.
Okay.
Just 2, and I split one of them with Brady, remember?
Right.
Maybe you don't. Were you there yet or not?
No, I was not there.
I don't think you were there yet. I got a 24-ounce porterhouse. Split some of that with Brady. But then, the night that we went out to the fancy one, remember I got lobster.
Yes, that's right. I was there for that.
So I can't do too much of it, which is like Omaha. Yeah, Omaha I can only do 1 or 2 steaks, and I'm done.
I go with hamburger just because I don't eat pork, and you don't want to be the guy asking, hey, are these beef franks? Are these Hebrew nationals? You don't want to be that guy, so I'm just like, give me the hamburger. But I do like a good
Fair enough.
I do like a good beef frank on the grill. Yeah, a little smokiness to it. I'll tell you, the best, I don't really like imbibing alcohol. I like being social with my friends, and I like being buzzed, but I don't actually enjoy, like the people who love drinking scotch or come home from work and just love the taste of that cold, old Milwaukee hitting the palate. I wasn't built that way, but I'll always remember this one time where we were grilling out before a game at Indian Village, represent, and I had this ice cold Amberbach, and I had this Johnsonville beef brat, and it was just cooked perfectly. And I remember biting into the brat and chewing on and just savoring the flavor and the seasoning, and then washing it down with the Amberbach, and it married together like peanut butter and jelly. It was like a true epiphany. I'm like, damn, that was so good. Just a party going on my palate. It was delicious.
Yeah, you see what people are thinking about, what they're doing. My problem is I can't drink too much during the day. Even light ultra, even ultra, I just can't go crazy because I get a headache about 8 p.m. I just don't want to do anything. Yeah. So that's why I'm not great at cookouts, especially when there's just people drinking beer. It's just not my thing. But grilled hot dogs, man, or grilled bratwurst are that's about as good as it gets, my man. That's about as good as. Hey, by the way, speaking of peanut butter jelly sandwiches, here's a little trivia for you. What do you think the record is for the most peanut butter jelly sandwiches eaten in 1 minute?
I'm sure you probably watched this on the Kobayashi Joey Chestnut documentary. In 1 minute, PB&J. 1 minute, good. I don't know, 13?
6.
Okay, yeah.
Doesn't that seem? I mean, that's a ton. That's incredible. But doesn't that seem kind of doable? Like if you and your buddies one night were just like, "Hey, man, let's just see if Joe, how many he can get your biggest buddy and be like, look, man, just go for it. We're going to time you. We're going to film this because we got to send it to Guinness or whoever we got to send it to. Right. Get after this. Let's see what you can do and show everybody how you're making them, that it's real legit peanut butter and jelly. I don't know the specifications of how much peanut butter. Right. I don't know if they have stuff like that. But, 6 doesn't seem like – I mean, I know it's hard to eat a lot of peanut butter quickly. But, man, it seems like 6 is doable.
Actually, in 1 minute, though, now that I say it out loud, in 1 minute, 6 in 1 minute, right? That was the question?
Yeah, that's the record.
No, that is, I think just getting one down is just so thick, it sticks to the roof of your mouth. I mean, I know these guys are dunking everything in water and everything to make it easier, but, that's pretty darn impressive. You couldn't get me drunk enough to think that I could do that now that I sit here and deliberate over it. I would absolutely sure.
But I feel like even if you don't get it, you're not going to make yourself vomit after eating 2.5 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. You know what I mean? I feel like it's not going to be something that you really regret. So it's worth giving it a try, guys. Now, I will say this. We watched some of that thing, and it was ridiculous, by the way, that Kobayashi chestnut. It felt to me like an SNL spoof.
Yeah. I was really
especially when he starts crying about how somebody chanted USA. It's like, well, come on, man. What? Like, you had dominated this contest for a decade. We knew your name. Nobody knows any competitive eater's name. We knew your name because you would eat 60 and the next closest would eat 11. And then all of a sudden somebody comes up and challenges you, and we're happy because he's an American and it's July 4th, and somebody chants USA at you and you feel betrayed. But anyway, so I started looking up all the records.
Okay.
And Joey Chestnut has so many that you couldn't even imagine. But the one that I thought was to me, doesn't seem – there's a lot that don't seem possible. But 47 grilled cheeses in 8 minutes. But how does that happen? Like, grilled cheeses they got butter on them. They're thick. How do you put 47 of them down?
I feel like you can just throw them down your gullet easier than PB. PB&J is just more dense, I feel like, because when you grill the bread, I feel like the bread –
But that's only 6. Yeah, they didn't do peanut butter and jelly in 10 minutes. But 47 grilled cheeses in 8 minutes. I'm heck. How does he do 70 hot dogs?
I don't know. I'm cutting this out of the show. This is ridiculous. We have more serious questions to get to.
No, you're not cutting that out of the show. That's what people want to hear about. It's not ridiculous.
Big Steve-O 22. He's been a member since August 11th, 2008. This is only his 5th ever post. Big Steve-O 22. What up, fellas? Hope you have a wonderful 4th of July celebration. I watched the San Diego video Corey referenced. It was awesome. Quick answer. Yeah. A quick answer as to how I signed up to warchant.com. It was to mainly get recruiting updates, but also every time I would look up something FSU football related, it would bring me back here. And of course, you had to be a member to read the articles, so I signed up. That simple, and never regretted that decision. Absolutely.
Man, that's a great fifth post.
Yeah, there you go. On to my question. I was listening to the recruiting update the other day and found it very strange that Willie and the crew don't allow official visits to occur during the summer. What are your thoughts on that? This was when we interviewed, when I interviewed Michael Langston, Corey, to give us a recruiting update earlier in this week. And there's a couple targets that the Florida State was in the lead for that now they've lost some ground to after they've made official visits elsewhere. I think one of them is Jalen Knighton. I think he might be a running back or a skill position guy. He's now perhaps Ohio State's taken the lead. And then an offensive lineman from Venice. I think his name is Thomas Schrader. Florida State seemed to be firmly in the lead, but he's officially visited Louisville here recently, and they've gained ground. I guess part of this comes back from the whole Sam Howell, Nick Cross thing where they don't want kids to officially visit during the summer. I guess perhaps it gives them more time to, reconsider and I guess they want to maybe have the last shot at some of these guys. So come during the football season. And I guess especially now with the way they are languishing in the recruiting rankings, and languishing is a relative term, they're 15th right now. They have to do well during the season to start winning some of these guys over. But I guess they don't want to reserve seats at the table for these kids that want to commit and visit now, and then say they lose 4 games this year, and then these kids get second thoughts and they don't want to commit, and then it leaves them scrambling. I would figure get them on campus. I thought that was the whole thing. Like, get these guys on campus earlier, show them the environment, the culture, the relationships, build that stuff on the official visit now, and you're probably more likely to be able to ride the ebbs and flows of those losses rather than, hey, just come to the Miami game in November though, please. Just stay on board, stick with us, even though we've already have 4 losses. I just feel like that'd probably be easier sell to do it now. This is all presumptuous on my part. I don't know how to recruit. I don't know how to appeal to the whims of a 17-year-old kid. I'll trust David Kelly and Willie Taggart more. But it does seem weird, only because this is not. It's unorthodox. It's unorthodox for sure. What would Coach Clark want to do? Would you want to bring guys in now and get them on campus officially and get them on board?
First things first, Aslan, the record for most chicken wings eaten in a 10-minute stretch is a woman, by the way, and it's over 500. Physically, it doesn't make sense. Like, she's skinny.
Move.
She's 120 pounds.
Savvy move to bring this up later so that I can't go back and delete it. Now I definitely can't go back and delete because nothing will make sense. Well played, Corey.
Exactly right. Hey, man, I'm playing chess. Yeah, man, I think everything you said makes sense. Like, there's no way you could feel confident about a kid that makes a summer official visit. Like, I feel like you would think if we have a real shot at this kid, why waste it in the summer where he doesn't get the vibe of the school? He doesn't get to go to see a game. I get that maybe if he really wants to make his decision quickly, he doesn't even get to see a practice. Like, if he wants to get his decision over with before his senior season starts, you could make an exception. But by and large, I wouldn't think that's really an issue, that big of an issue anyway. I think most kids would want to wait and make their official visits during the season. Now, I know it can interfere with a Friday night football game, but, they seem to make those work. And I just think that, coaches since the dawn of time have always wanted to get the last official visit, not one in July. Right. So I think that's what it would be odd to me if they just said it's odd that you would just forbid them and say, no, sorry, man. Hey, you're the number 1 player in the country. You want to visit us in July? No chance. Go take that to Ohio State, my man. Not interested. I don't think they would do that necessarily. I would hope not. But I do think they would like to steer kids more towards the season because you get to show off things. You get to show off your cool stadium when it's, mostly or partly filled up. You get to show off the student population and just the tailgate experience. All that stuff is stuff you want them to see, and you also want it to be closer to their decision. We saw last year they had a kid that was a quarterback that was committed to them for how long? He had already visited. They couldn't bring him back, and he ended up going to play for Mac Brown. So, it makes sense to me that you would want to try to steer clear of summer official visits. But unofficial visits, come on, bring it anytime you want.
Yeah, but they have to pay for that. That's expensive.
Sure, come on, man, but still.
I'm trying to look it up. I thought Sam Howell officially visited during the actual season. I'm trying to look that up right now on the Rivals database here. Yeah, he officially visited.
I thought it was
he officially visited for the Florida game. He came during the Florida game. Yeah.
When did he commit?
Come witness the 7th and final loss of the year, the one that cements us as the worst year. Come to that one. Love it. He was committed to Florida State.
He won't answer me.
April 9th, 2018, and then he decommitted December 19th. As we all remember, Black 19, December 19th, the day that he decommitted from Florida State.
Oh, Sam Howell.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what that looks like.
I want to just go to sleep. I want to wake up in 2022 and just see what's going on with Florida State football so that I can be like, oh, that all made sense. Yeah, of course. Like, I want to sit here and talk about how awesome all these ideas were that Willie had, or just make fun of them. Like, I can't do this. I hate doing this wait and see thing. Well, we'll see how it goes, But
I know, buddy. I know, but I feel like that's the realistic way to approach things. We don't know. This might be a genius move.
It might be. Georgia Knowles 86. Wake up! Here we go. A lot of recruiting questions from Ranye. Do you think recruits are waiting for signs of progress in the football program before committing to FSU? Absolutely.
Yes.
Especially the elite recruits. Especially the elite. Somebody didn't like the way that I somehow put an X into especially, like especially, I would say. So especially, there you go. Especially the elite recruits, I think, are certainly waiting for signs of progress. Do you think we can finish in the top 10 in recruiting with all the recruits we've missed out on? Well, you're 15th, and I don't really know how many. I don't think there's any. Maybe that tight end from Las Vegas, Florida State might be in the mix on still. I'm not 100% sure. He was supposed to be at that 5-star challenge in Atlanta but missed his flight. That's the only 5-star recruit I can remember seeing either on a hot board or seeing his name floated out there. So I don't, and they already have 14. Will they fill out the class and have 25? I don't know for sure, but if you fill out those last 10 spots with 3 4-star guys, I don't think you're going to move up 5 spots because most of those teams in front of you are gonna hold serve with that same sort of star quality, if you will, if not add another 5-star that's uncommitted. So. But again,
what's the difference really between 12 and 9?
Yeah, Corey, who knows, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
You could have the 16th ranked class with a bunch of overachieving, hardworking kids that end up putting this program back to where it belongs. So we don't know. We don't know.
No.
If you were the number 1 football recruit coming out of high school, who would be your top 3 schools? Where would you commit to? I'm going to say that I'd be a quarterback. If I was a quarterback, number 1 recruit coming out of high school, coming out of East Lake High School, Tarpon Springs, Florida. Although I don't like saying that because Tarpon Springs is our rival, even though we are technically located in their city. I'd have to go hang out with Jimbo at Texas A&M at College Station.
Oh, God.
Probably go hang out with Dabo at Clemson. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to go somewhere really good. There's a cool slide I can go down. The seasonable weather of Clemson would probably suit me quite well. And I don't know. I mean, gosh, is it Clay Helton still at Southern Cal? I couldn't go there. I don't want to play for him. Lincoln Riley. I guess I'd probably go to Norman. I'd probably go visit Norman and go hang out with Lincoln Riley after I got done hanging out with Uncle Jimbo. And just kind of see. Although I don't think I would like Norman. I think Norman should be too flat, too arid.
I think it's pretty close to Tulsa or Oklahoma City. One of those cities I flew into. Doesn't seem like it was too far away.
Yeah, it's closer to Oklahoma City. I do like the crimson and cream color, though. I would look good in Oklahoma colors. Oklahoma, A&M, and Clemson. I wouldn't go to Alabama. I don't. Yeah, I couldn't. I wouldn't go to Alabama.
I mean, my answer, of course, would be Florida State, and only Florida State. I wouldn't even look at another school. But, hey, Aslan's got to do his thing, I guess.
Yeah, all right. So right
Actually,
now, Brady
Oklahoma
Clark
was a good one because their last two quarterbacks both went number one in the draft.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty good track record. And their quarterback actually had success in the NFL his first year, so that's another good track record. So I think that would be, if you're really serious about getting in the league, in 2019, I feel like that's Oklahoma, and then probably Georgia, Florida State.
So
those are my three.
So where would Brady Clark go? Right now, if Brady was 17 years old, Florida State, if he was a quarterback, you would send him to Florida State. Okay.
Well, look, hey, we're going to look around. Obviously, he's going to be a two-sport star. So again, Florida State,
that makes
more
sense.
than all those other schools. I guess Oklahoma has a good recent history with Kyler Murray, but more than all those other schools has a great tradition of two-sport athletes. So yeah, Florida State would be a legitimate contender. Now, look, it's his decision, guys. I can't sway him too much, but just know his mom went to Florida State, his granddad went to Florida State, his dad lives in Tallahassee and covers Florida State. It seems like it would all, his aunt went to Florida State. It seems like it would all work in the Seminoles' favor, but I don't know what kind of bags of cash are going to show up in my driveway.
Could you imagine the meltdown on War Chant if Brady committed to Georgia? Like, he's a legacy. He's a legacy.
I would have to quit, right?
Probably.
And I wouldn't even blame people. They'd be like, wait, you're going to take our money, Florida State fans. You're going to take our money for all these years. You're gonna write all these stories about Florida State and talk about Florida State. But when it comes to sending your kid to Florida State, you send him to Athens? No. I might. The day he announces when he picks up his hat, I'll just hold up a sign telling Gene I quit. I'm sorry.
Last question from Renegade Express. Lou Jack 34. Good morning, fellas. Love the show. I listen to every episode and even have my wife listening in the afternoon sometimes. I'm from Ocala, Florida, home of Dante Culpepper. My brother was his coach at Vanguard when he was a freshman. I've been a member for 14 years of WarChant.com. In fact, WarChant is the reason I learned how to use a computer. My buddy and I were working together. He's a croc and was telling me about their site, GatorBait.com. He goes on and was getting practice updates. He said FSU probably has a website also. I went home that day, had the old lady show me how to log on to the internet, and I signed up that day. Been on here every day since. I don't really have a question, just want to say hi and that I love the show. I look forward to hearing you guys every chance I get, and keep up the good work. P.S. I live on a beautiful lake in Marion County. If you guys or any of the War Chant staff like to bass fish, I'd be more than happy to put you on some big largemouth bass, free of charge, of course. I love these people. Let's go, Lou Jack.
We have a good job, man. That's
Let's
a
go.
really nice offer. It's a great post. So he's been a member for 14 years.
Yeah, May 7th, 2000.
Didn't even have a question. Just wanted to tell us how much you like the show and how awesome we are. So, and tell your lovely wife we said hello.
Indeed.
Did he leave it? What's his name?
Lou Jack 34.
Got it. I wonder if that's some sort of fishing reference, maybe.
Perhaps.
Like a lumberjack? Is there a lumberjack fish?
Or maybe...
Lou Jack, you're understanding right now that if somebody from the War Chant staff comes out to fish with you, I was going to say it wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be the most likely. But you know what? I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day about how, I don't do any of that stuff with Brady. And I feel like 11-year-old boys, he's 11 now, they need some of that, right? They need some outdoorsy stuff,
right. Some
camping, some fishing. And so, yeah, maybe I might. Hey, I don't know where that lake is necessarily, but I need my son to learn how to calm down. Number one, I feel like fishing would really help there. Got to show some patience, but I just need to show him more experiences in life. It can't just all be Sports Center and iPads and baseball practice. Yeah. So you know what? I'm making that. That's my July 4th resolution.
All right.
Is that it's going to be more Brady outdoors time.
Okay.
So maybe Lou Jack, I'll be down there as long as it's okay if an 11-year-old comes and fishing with you, getting some striped bass. Again, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Largemouth bass. I'm going to assume that Lou Jack that his wife's name is Louise and his name is Jack, or he's Lewis and his wife is Jacqueline. That's my theory. We'll have to see.
Okay.
If he writes back.
Maybe his name is like Lou Jackson.
Or that.
Everybody calls him Lou Jack.
There we go. Could be that as well. All right, where are we at? Let me look at this right now. We're at an hour, 10 minutes. Yeah, we've got a couple of good voicemails. We'll save them for next week. Tar Heel Raider sent us a good voicemail, and this will also allow us to, maybe think of a good concerted answer. Basically, just about Florida State fans and those.
Hey, what are you doing?
Well, shouldn't I? I mean,
you don't need a teaser.
It's a tease. It's a tease. Anyhow, we see your questions. Also, Dane from Orlando left us a voicemail. It's of good quality. We'll get to that next week. Because I don't really know what we're going to talk about next week. I say that every time.
Is there a phone number that other people can leave voicemails?
There is, Corey. It's 850-792-5730. That's 850-792-5730.
Sweet.
Yaks
Good job.
30,
Good read.
Yeah, Yaks 30. 850-Yaks30, right? Was that what it was? Something like that. So, all right. That's that. We'll go ahead, and on the flip side of this will be the interview that Corey's already wrote a nice, tidy story on from E.J. Manuel. I was able to talk to him about a week or two ago with his transition to the broadcast booth. I think, and I posted this on the Tribal Council, which I shouldn't talk about because you should have to pay to read my really good opinions. He struck me as somebody that is sort of uneasily going into the second part of his life now away from football. I don't think he was quite ready to give up on football, but the writing kind of seemed to be on the wall. There's a reason, they call it not for long and all that cliche nonsense. But he does have a really good opportunity with the ACC Network, and I posted on the Tribal Council. Maria Taylor and Booger McFarland both started off with the SEC Network, which it's clearly the production quality and the talent they have on there is not what they have in Bristol. But Maria Taylor now and Booger McFarland's on Monday Night Football, and Maria Taylor is doing NBA Finals and really big sort of events. So I would think EJ with his charismatic and sort of, he's a good-looking guy, too. I'll say it. If my ex-girlfriend let me for EJ, I'd be like, all right, I see how it goes. He's in a good position, man. So I'm sure it was a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow, but ultimately he's doing quite well. No need to feel bad for EJ.
Well, and it was smart, too, and I think he comes across as being, we've always known he's been intelligent, but it's such an intelligent decision because obviously if he was guaranteed to be on the Chiefs roster in 2019, he wouldn't be doing the ACC Network. But he wasn't. There's no guarantee. And if he gets cut in August and then all of a sudden he's out of it, he doesn't have anything to do, this was the more logical play. He saw where kind of his career had been. He'd been cut by the Raiders. He hadn't started, in 3 or 4 years. So instead of just traveling around trying to, a journeyman, trying to hook on with an NFL team when it seems like NFL teams aren't all that interested in you, he's always kind of known at least for the last decade, he's known he's wanted to do this, that he's wanted to be a broadcaster. This is a great opportunity. He's 29. He's barely a year done playing football. Still 7. I mean, he played college football 7 years ago. He's going to have he's going to have really helpful insights, telegenic, articulate, all that stuff. He does everything really well. I think he's going to be really good at that. And it's smart, man. He's thinking about his life as a 40-year-old. Not his life as a 30-year-old necessarily. And he says that he wants to use the ACC Network as a stepping stone. Well, of course he does. And who knows, in 10 or 15 years, he might be hosting a game show. Huh. We don't know, but this is where you start. And he couldn't pass up this opportunity because like he said, these jobs they're not just falling off trees. These are hard to get. And he got offered one. It makes sense to take it. Yeah. In my opinion, in my humble opinion. Yeah. By the way, the record for most crystals eaten in a 10-minute stretch is 103, also by Joey Chestnut.
What a braggart. Yeah.
He does everything, man.
Yeah. Multifaceted.
He is. He's like a 12-sport star. It doesn't matter the food with that guy.
Do you let Brady shoot off anything? Like, would you let him shoot off a bottle rocket or a Roman candle?
Well, I mean, yes, sure, but it's Brady, man. He might turn it into and aim it at the house. You don't know with that kid. He doesn't think too quickly or smartly. Or he doesn't think about repercussions. He'd be like, man, it'd be cool to see what this does to the window. So it would all be, within reason.
All right.
But yeah, he's done that before. He's held them up and pointed them to the sky.
All right, we're
No,
done
I wouldn't
here.
let him get near the. I wouldn't let him get near the San Diego one.
Okay, well that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
so
Like
the
Fallujah.
EJ Manuel interview will follow here in the next few seconds. Have a great 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. We will reconvene at some point next week. Don't quite know when, but we'll be back. Corey, say goodbye, or at least for now. Pitch it, throw it to the EJ.
I love you guys.
Interview. Yeah, there you go.
And I love this country. Happy July 4th. We're with you. We're always going to be with you. Godspeed. Good luck. Enjoy EJ Manuel.
Joining us now here on Wake Up War Chant, Florida State quarterback EJ Manuel. We're not going to say former Florida State quarterback because you're always a Florida State quarterback in the eyes of the fans who listen to the program. EJ, thanks for joining us. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks so much for joining us. I know you got a super busy schedule these days as you start to transition to the next phase of your life now, being an analyst for the ACC Network, which is set to launch here in August. I guess how did that come about, EJ? We obviously know that you've always been a great ambassador for Florida State. You've always been really well-spoken, carried yourself very well in front of the cameras and the microphones. Is this something that you always aspired, I guess, to do once your playing career did come to an end?
Yeah, definitely. So it really started back my sophomore year. Terrell Buckley had mentioned that I should try to get into the communications or school of communications, and then one day get into broadcast, once I finished playing football, because obviously most quarterbacks, that's kind of their next role once they finish their playing days in the NFL. So, huge shout out to T-Buck for kind of setting that up for me. And, obviously I followed through with it and got my degree in communications at FSU. And then obviously once I got let go from Oakland last year, I was reluctant enough to get an audition with the ACC Network this past fall. And so it's just kind of funny how, when things happen, like in my mind, I didn't feel like I should get cut, but nonetheless, it kind of teed me up to my next chapter in my life, my next career. And so, I was with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I just kind of decided, like, hey, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. These jobs, on TV and, college football analyst jobs don't come, every year. You know what I mean? So I felt like it was somewhat time of the essence. I got 6 years in the NFL, and my pension's good. So to me, it was time to move on.
Are you going to go all Romo on us? Are you going to be able to call out the play before it's snapped?
Yeah, I'm not going to do that, but I will say I'll be fair. The biggest thing, obviously, being a Florida State guy working for the ACC Network, I told them, like, I'm going to be fair, of course. Now, at the end of the day, I bleed garnet and gold, of course. But my main goal is just to be objective and offer some insight that most fans won't. Just kind of give that insight from a player's perspective. You know what I mean? Instead of a coach or, simply a journalist. I want to give that true, real gritty feel of how, us as players feel.
I know some folks think that they just grab you guys right out of the locker room and then throw you on TV, but I imagine there's some sort of kind of like boot camp crash course they put you guys through to get you ready for being on television. Did you do anything like that, and how did that go? Did you feel comfortable?
No, actually I didn't. I did meet with a guy named Jerry Nadeline, who worked at ESPN for a very long time. I met him through my talent agent and spent, I think, 2 or 3 days before my second audition with ESPN. And, we just worked at it for probably 4 hours each day. And, Jerry helped me out a lot, but I didn't do the broadcast boot camp. And it's funny because a lot of my teammates or ex-NFL teammates were like, well, how'd you even get this job? Because a lot of guys want to do this once they finish. But that's why I said I felt very lucky, honestly, and really blessed just because the timing of, my career from the NFL just transitioned right into this one pretty seamlessly.
EJ Manuel joining us here on Wake Up War Chant, Florida State quarterback, NFL first-round pick, and now analyst for ACC Network. EJ, you were all everything coming out of high school. You were a 5-star recruit. You helped put Florida State back on the trajectory that a lot of folks were used to. You were a first-round NFL pick, 6 years in the league, as you said. How, I don't want to say difficult, but being a competitor, how do you guys, what's the process like when it feels like things are starting to kind of wind up in terms of maybe the interest from other teams in the NFL? Because we see certain quarterbacks continually get recycled in the league, and then you wonder why this guy or that guy can't get a shot. How do you kind of try to, find peace and closure in that sort of process of your life?
That's a great question. I think, for one, you can't identify yourself as a football player, point blank. I think that's the biggest thing where guys make the mistake and they think like, hey, this is the only way I can have a career. This is the only thing that I can do to make money. That's a lie. At the end of the day, you work hard and, we've been playing football for most of our lives. Like myself, I've been playing since I was 5 years old, but I always prided myself on making sure I got my grades and, making sure I had other interests going along with my football interests. Of course, I was putting in all the work with studying and working out and things like that. But, I guess once I first got into the league, I was like, okay, well, let me make sure I'm still planning for the rest of my life, because even if I played for 10, 15 years, that would have put me at, I guess, 32 when I retired. So, and I'm 29 now, you know what I mean? So, that would have been, another 2 or 3 seasons anyways. So for me, I always thought, down the road. And I think, when you kind of have that longevity thought process, it kind of gives you more peace. And don't get me wrong, it was a tough decision, like just to leave, a team like the Chiefs, because I think they have, the talent to contend for a Super Bowl this year. But at the same time, I had to make a business decision for myself. And I know that, the ACC Network is a stepping stone for me and the rest of my career on TV.
Yeah, man, you could maybe actually be like the next Romo. Like maybe Monday Night Football could be in the cards for you down the road.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my goal is to be somewhat like Michael Strahan. I think, Michael does a great job of, giving off his personality. And he not only just does the football stuff, he also does, regular news and Good Morning America. I think he's hosting shows now. So, like I said, that's a little further down the road, but that's how I think. I always think, 5-10 years ahead.
NFL, everyone jokes is, stands for not for long. But 6 years is a freaking heck of a run. I mean, for you, was there anything that – I mean, everyone tries to get you ready. You come and play at Florida State for Jimbo Fisher, the pro-style offense, and all that kind of stuff. But was there anything that when you went to the league that just there's nothing that can get you prepared for? There's no coaching. There's no advice. Is there just some aspect of the game that you won't realize until you're actually thrown into that fire?
Yeah, of course. I think, James Blackman went through it as a freshman when DeAndre got hurt. When you get thrown in there and you have to go out and play, and even if you're a rookie or a freshman, it's very similar. I mean, the step from high school to college is completely different than the college to the pros is completely different. So, I think the best way to learn sometimes is being thrown in the fire. Of course, if you're reluctant enough, like a guy like Patrick Mahomes, he got a chance to sit behind Alex Smith for a year. And obviously we saw what he did his second year, the MVP type of season. So I think it works differently for everybody, but in my position, I'm glad I was somewhat thrown into that fire. Of course, I wish a couple of things and a couple of decisions would have been different in my favor, but nonetheless, I don't look back and have any regrets or anything like that. And I do think that the only way to really learn and get true reps is actually being out there on the field.
Is there anything that does stick in your mind, or you just choose not to dwell on it?
As far as what though? Just
moments in your career you thought that maybe, didn't go the way that you maybe should have gotten the fair shake on things?
You know what, man? Honestly, I've gone over it in my mind for a long time. I think obviously my second year is when I got benched. We were 2-2 and we lost to Houston, I think by a touchdown or something like that. I can't remember the exact score, but I did get benched that following Monday. And obviously in my mind, I'm like, why? You know what I mean? I was upset, and as a competitor, I felt like I could still help our team win. But, like I said, when someone else above you, like a head coach or, whoever made that decision, they made it. And at the end of the day, all I could do was still be a good teammate, still go up, show up to work, do what I could do. And, I was still reluctant enough to get another 4 seasons in the NFL. So to me, I think it's all about, the cards that you're dealt. And, I mean, that's not just football, that's life. You know what I mean? Like, I would be remiss to be acting like just because I was playing football is the end of the world. Like, nah, people deal with even worse things in real life. You know what I mean? So it definitely helped me grow up as a man. And, I'm definitely better for it than I was as a younger guy.
All right, man, looking ahead to the future, how do you scout this Florida State team going into 2019? I don't know if you've had the time to really give it a big picture sort of view, but what do you sort of expect, or what did you see last year in Florida State that you would hope is going to be improved in 2019?
Yeah, I think the biggest improvement is the offensive line. I think if they can come together and somehow, whether it's, picking up the blitzes or just, simply being on the same page, I think that'll give James an opportunity to be successful. As a quarterback, man, if you don't have much time, let alone, a second and a half or 2 seconds to actually get, a true read down the field, it's really hard to play that way, because once you feel like, your offensive line isn't really holding up, you start seeing ghosts, and you start thinking, all right, I got to rush through my reads and I got to picking up my footwork and things like that. And so, it all plays together. And I think, if James is smart, man, I think he would be sitting down each and every day with his O-line, going over protections, going over all the calls, making sure everyone's on the same page.
Have you reached out to any of the quarterbacks since you left Florida State to offer advice, whether it was Jameis or DeAndre or James?
Oh, yeah, of course. Jameis and I are very close. I would say we talk, if not every week, at least once every 2 weeks. And, we've remained friends for a long time because, Jameis and I played together, so obviously he and I are very close. But I did, spend some time with DeAndre. I came down to Florida State and spoke to the team, I think, 2016, the year that they played Alabama, I think was their first game, and went down and spoke to him. I think that was Jimbo's last year, actually.
Right,
so,
17.
Spent some time with him, and then obviously I met James Blackman that same time. And so, we'll text here and there. I actually need to reach out to him and just, let him know I'm here for him if he needs anything. But, I try to keep in touch with those guys, and I think that's one thing when I was at Florida State. I wish, I did speak to Charlie Ward a bunch when I was in college, but I think it's important for us, those guys who have played there and gone through, the ups and the downs at FSU and kind of made it what it is. I think it's important for us to reach back to the guys that are still currently there.
EJ, I know we got to let you go, but I got one last question. It comes from Corey. He can't make the call because he's busy, but and this is something I really am curious to know too. With 7 years of separation, I guess, between you and Coach Fisher, how would you describe your relationship with Jimbo and what he's meant to your career and I guess maybe your life?
Man, Jimbo has done it's a great question. I think he's been such an intricate part in my process of getting to the NFL. I think anytime you're a quarterback under Jimbo, these GMs and head coaches already know that you're tough, mentally, because they know what kind of coach he is. They know how hard he gets after the quarterback, in practices. And I always felt like if I could, handle Jimbo, in a film room or on the practice field, I knew I could handle the defense in the actual game on Saturday night. And, I think when we, when I say we, I'm talking about like my old teammates from Florida State. When we look at the roster that we had, I mean, just looking at all the talent that Jimbo was able to recruit to FSU, it's really astounding. I think if you go back and look at the 2012 season through the 2015 season, I mean, most of us have, if not played in the NFL, or are still in the NFL. You know what I mean? So I think my hat goes off to him. I'm extremely thankful for him, and obviously he helped me reach one of my dreams, which was playing in the NFL, and I know he's going to do well at Texas A&M.
EJ Manuel, Florida State standout quarterback now, part of the ACC Network, joining us here on Wake Up War Chant. EJ, we can't wait to hear you on ACC Network every Saturday and throughout the week. Be nice to the Knowles, but you already know that, right?
Always, always, always. Good talking with you, man. Appreciate
Likewise.
it.
Thanks, EJ.
Okay.